Welcome to the TT from the D top of the morning show. It is your girl TT from the D. I am super excited that you tuned in this morning to join me and my very special guest. Dr. Karen Reynolds was in the building this morning. For those of you that have been tapping in and checking out our show, she was on our panel last week when we did our Tap In Tuesdays when we had the nonprofit organization takeover. Where this month, we're really dedicated to talking about our nonprofit organizations, but also because we're getting ready to jump into the month of May. And you know, that's that old saying, April showers bring May flowers. Well, May is also the kickoff season when we start to get into the thick of things, where we start to plan for a beautiful summer ahead because we predict we're going to have a great summer. But May is also a special month for those of us that have children. Whether you have a child biologically or you've adopted or you're that person that's known as a mom to many and you've never vaginally or cesarean style brought out a child. But we are in a season where we're planning to honor our mothers, those of us that have mothers still here on earth, and then still saluting and celebrating the legacies of our mothers who have gone on to join God. And so it gives me great pleasure because I'm going to do two things this morning. I'm going to kind of refresh your memory for those of you that caught the show last week and those of you that are new to listening to the Top of the Morning show. We're going to kind of revisit a little bit about the nonprofit organization that Dr. Reynolds has, but we're also going to talk about something that I'm excited about because if you know me, I like to have a good time. They have an amazing organization in Lansing, Michigan. So if you're looking for that crossover, like, you know, someone who knows how to have fun, but also know how to get you and help get your family together when it comes to taking care of priorities, our health, what happens when we get into situations and circumstances where we are battling issues that take place at the hospitals and agencies when they don't want to provide service for us. That's where Dr. Reynolds comes into place on the serious side of life. But if you're ready to kick back, throw on your best dressed outfit and just really relax and unwind with some grown and sexy adult entertainment and gatherings, then you also want to pay homage to her company that she shares with her husband, the Lansing Social Elite Group. So this woman is not only a mother, she's a wife, she's a serial entrepreneur, she's a philanthropist, she does a whole lot in her community. She's big on family, but she's also big on making sure that we get what we deserve. And as you know how life goes, we sometimes don't always get what we deserve. And I mean, when we deserve it, like when you're in the thick of things, as I said earlier, you really don't know where to turn to in some cases when it gets to dealing with health challenges and issues. It doesn't have to always be serious. It could be something that you may not be informed, and a lot of times, unfortunately, people take our ignorance or lack of knowing for granted, and they use it to benefit them, if I would say that, you know, and leave us when we don't know, not getting the things we deserve. And that's where Dr. Reynolds come into play. So without any further ado, I'd like to bring Dr. Reynolds to the building. Good morning, Karen. How are you?
Good morning, TT. I am doing very well. I'm very happy to be here with you this morning. Top of the morning, people.
Hey, man, top of the morning, top of the morning. First of all, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy morning to jump off and kickstart this Tuesday morning for us. I want to also thank you for tapping in for Tap In Tuesday last week for the nonprofit takeover. We featured a lot of information about nonprofits. A lot of people that may not be aware that there is a $35 million grant that Michigan Nonprofit Association is really spearheading this year for a lot of our Michigan nonprofit organizations. And I know that things are underway for you and your nonprofits because you have a lot going on. As I said earlier, you can explain it to the people a lot better than I can. But I would like you to tell us about your nonprofit. Then I would like you to switch gears, let your hair down, be sexy, and talk about your company that you share with your husband.
Oh, yes. Well, thank you. I love to talk about the nonprofit. And I know that the business of healthcare is so unsexy,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not as unsexy as when we start losing toes and feet and start getting illnesses,
Yeah.
all because we did not know what to say to the doctors. We didn't know how to navigate the system. And that's very unfortunate. It's beyond unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my nonprofit is called the Careco Wealth Foundation. It's the nonprofit arm of my company, Careco Well, which is a patient advocacy company.
Okay.
Our mission in the for-profit side is to change the way we participate in our care.
Okay.
There are numerous health disparities, and it attacks certain groups. It's increased in certain groups: minorities, women, LGBTQ, whether you live in urban areas. It's many faceted, it's multifaceted. And the thing is, most of the health disparities are preventable. The problem is the information does not trickle down to those disparate groups like it should.
Mm-hmm.
And there lies the problem for me. So we tackle the health disparities in the form of informed decision making. As an independent patient advocate, many people haven't heard of that. But what we do is we concentrate, and in my company, we concentrate on person-centered care. We do not work for the hospital. We do not work for the insurance company. I work for you and what you believe your quality of life should be. So I help you move you through the decision support aspects.
Mm.
Now, there's another side of when you interact with the health system.
Okay.
Sometimes you have chronic health conditions, and sometimes you have acute conditions. Acute conditions are something that's like an onset. You have to go into the hospital. You may have a hospital stay, but you can recover from that. Okay.
Okay.
Chronic conditions are conditions that they really stay with you. There's not really a cure, but they're manageable. Um, some of them are terminal, but some of them may not, but they can play a factor in your demise if it was to come out of control. Like, for instance, diabetes.
Mm.
That's a chronic illness. And if
Yes.
that is not managed, that can lead to other systems being affected, and it can lead to your demise as well. And then, as well as lupus, that's another one. That's a chronic illness. There are different symptoms that can come from that. And some people live long lives with it. My mother lived till she was 60, but ultimately, that and her diabetes is how she left here.
Mm-hmm.
But she was the type, Grim Reaper coming to get me, you need gym shoes on. So
I know that's right.
So that's the motto. So in my years of working in patient access, and patient access is literally how people enter the health system through emergency rooms or admitting departments or pre-admits. Okay.
Okay.
How most people come into the health system. So most of my over 30 years experience has been in patient access. And what I have noticed and experienced from myself as well, because I do refer to my lived experience as a uniqueness of how to help people.
Okay.
There are family effects when you have a family member who is undergoing a health crisis, whether it's foreseen or unforeseen. And the consequences that come from that are not just medical, it's emotional, it's financial, and it's sometimes it can tear your house apart. It can really do that. So what we do is we offer financial support to people who are experiencing disruption in their life because of an illness, whether it's acute or it's chronic, whether it's that person, or whether they're caring for someone in their family, and they are LGBTQ, or they have LGBTQ family members. So that just about touches every family in America.
Yes.
And so what it does, for instance, if you're an individual and you need time off work, but you're working. So this is also for working people. So many resources are for people who are impoverished. So I'm focusing on the working people because we have problems too. It
That's
doesn't
right.
change.
That's right.
so so what we do is if that individual wants to take some time off work because they need to at least focus maybe a week or two on getting their strength, or the doctors, or just wanting to be there and just take care of things around the house, or just do nothing, not have the stress. That's where we can come in and offer some financial support so that they won't have to miss a total paycheck or go
Okay.
without pay. And then also there's some people, they may have some teenagers or just children. They may play basketball, or they may need, they may want to go to a summer camp or a senior trip, or want to go to prom.
Yes.
This money can be used for that so that they won't have those disruptions. And it won't be such an emotional headspin for the sick individual or the caregiver, because money is tight.
Mm-hmm.
You have more medicines, you have more co-pays, you have more gas if you don't live near that family member. So we're trying to maintain some sense of normalcy in the family. And so that's what the Care Co-Well Foundation does. And I chose these type of representation because that's what my family went through. And I know there are others.
Yes, there is. Now, I have to ask you, so do you guys tap into families that are dealing with elderly parents that may go in with dealing with Alzheimer's, dementia, things of that nature, mental health issues?
Yes, it's all an illness. It's all an
Okay.
illness.
And it's crazy. A couple of years ago, our father passed away, and he was, I really felt that there were services that he was entitled to receive, but because his age played a part. One thing I didn't like, that you hear this a lot, as I go and you support your family and your friends when they're going through situations. It tends to be when people can't really make conscious decisions in the healthcare realm, when really, you're focused on trying to deal with a family member being ill. That's one part. Then you got to deal with, the first thing, here come them people wanting your insurance information. It almost tends to seem like they give you a different set of treatment if you have insurance versus you don't have insurance. Then, with our father, when he was in the hospital, they kept saying, well, the quality of life, his quality of life, if you have somebody that's coming in that's half his age, because our dad was like in his late 70s, they thought of it like, well, it's kind of like you're looking at him and, would he want to live this way? Or you don't play God. It's not up to people to do that. I feel like as long as you're able to live, of course we do want to think about the quality of life. Yes. But in my dad's case, unfortunately, towards the end of his illness, he was unresponsive. He really was living by the machine, but it was just like, I felt I didn't have enough information. They would tell me a social worker would come by and talk with us prior to him entering hospice. And then I had all these questions, but nobody to answer it. You would always, well, someone would come in and talk to you, but no one ever came in. And when I would ask certain questions, they shoot you with all these big terms, and you're grieving and you're going through like, what do I do? You got to make this life-changing decision. And it would have been so helpful to have an organization like yours to be there where I can consult, or we could have made, I feel now later in life, better decisions. And even with my mom being in early stages of dementia, it's crazy because when she had to go into the hospital, when she had an episode not too long ago, I felt like they were keeping us apart and there was really nobody communicating with us. They wanted to they wanted to, what's the word I'm looking for? Not diagnose her, but they wanted to evaluate her. And it was like, well, who's over there advocating for her? Because she's hard of hearing. I said that to you guys, but if she's hard of hearing, I don't want you confused that she's confused because she's not answering you. She probably didn't hear you. So it's like,
Right.
who was on the other side? They wouldn't let us see her. They was like, well, you can't, even on the side of the hospital where they didn't have visiting hours until 5, she was still over on the emergency side, and they did not want to allow us to see her. They wouldn't allow her to have her phone. And we stayed up there for hours until it was time where we could go back and see her. But there was really no one there advocating for her. And it was so many patients back there, Karen, that I felt was being mistreated and treated like almost level of inhumane. If they knew this person might have been suffering from some mental illness or something, it's like they didn't disrespect them, but I felt like they just didn't treat them with love and care, as if there was somebody who was actually there to say, hey, I'm here to make sure that we're advocating for the patient. So I salute you for your organization, because not only here in Michigan, but like globally, you hear horror stories all the time, just especially when COVID manifested, patients that were in there and not able to communicate with their loved ones. They're feeling alone, and we don't know what's going on. So, I feel that your organization is unique versus a lot of the different agencies that come out, because you have focus points and you're for the people and making sure they get what they deserve.
Absolutely. And TT, I hate to hear that, but this is exactly the reason why my organization exists. It's not always the bias or the implicit bias. It's just bad care sometimes. Even if you have someone in the hospital, not all hospitals give, substandard care. Some of them are magnificent, but that's not my issue. My issue is when someone is going into the hospital and they don't have a voice because their interaction is reactive rather than proactive.
Yeah.
So many of us come in on the reactive side. And when you speak of your father, and when they talk about the quality of life is the standard that the patient wants. But if we don't have those conversations with them, we don't know what they want.
Yeah.
There is not anything in writing. So at that point, we're employing the doctors to make those decisions.
Yeah.
And that's not what we want. So part of the independent advocacy piece is I talk with the families about how to have these conversations, because they are very much needed. I incorporate the documents that should be in place. I talk about scenarios, real life scenarios of where spouses need to get guardianship over their spouses in the hospital because of certain conditions.
Wow.
And yes, so because you're married, that does not guarantee that you'll be the one to make decisions.
Is that so? I never knew that.
No, it's many different scenarios, especially if you're talking about the severity of the level of care that they need and where they need to go. Some facilities will require guardianship paperwork.
Wow.
So yes, and so that is why it is so important that people need to talk with an independent patient advocate. Talk to me. I have a plan that I can put in place with you, that we walk from the clarity and confusion, to you being calm and prepared to eliminate those vulnerabilities that are within your control. Now, sometimes illnesses, they can take on a mind of their own sometimes. Yeah. That's not anything that we can control. But what we can control is what that patient wants done and who they put in charge to speak for them in case they cannot. And when I say in case they cannot, think about the scenario. the ambulance had to come get someone at home. They are not able to verbally communicate what they want, whether it's because they're not conscious, whether it's because they may be actively having a stroke and they can't speak, or whether it's the medications that they're giving them and they can't wake up. So now they're arriving at the emergency department. They're going to a hospital they've probably never been to before.
Mm-hmm.
They're searching through wallets and things, trying to figure out what their name is.
Yeah.
But they cannot delay care. So what do? They do what they feel is best to save that patient's life.
Right.
And the family may not agree. They may not find out, or the family may have arrived after they were back there in the emergency room and said, my loved one did not want to be on a life support.
Right.
But they have to save their life. And they can't just take it out because you didn't want it. Yeah. There's a whole process of the medical of care. So that's why it is so important to pre-plan, because you don't want your family to make decisions and they don't know what you want. Or, hey, let's be real. We got some families, you heard hide nor hear of them.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as that loved one is sick, they're coming into the hospital.
Yeah.
Speaking up on what to do, and everybody looking at them like they're crazy. But they might be the next of kin.
Right.
Out of the brothers and sisters, they might be the next of kin.
Wow.
And if the patient has more than one child, they're visiting at different times. Mm-hmm. No one is listed as the advanced directive or the one who go to. All they know is that this is my child, and your parent may say, yep, that's my daughter, she can speak for me. You may say that for everybody in the room, and everybody says something different. And the one that just happens to be there is the one that know nothing about the care, saying, do whatever you need to do.
Absolutely. And you hear that.
Yes, you do. And now it's a fight in the hospital, and security is being called.
Lord have mercy.
Real. That's real.
That's somebody's truth right now, listening right now. Yes, somebody right now unfortunately is going through exactly what you described. It could be to the third power, but we've all been in a position where we were the family member or we were a friend of someone and we were witnessing that. When I tell you, I know a good friend of mine, she's a trauma nurse at Grace Hospital, and when I tell you some of the stories that she's been able to share, it's unbelievable about, you already go through emotions when something's happening, but when things evolve and now emotions are involved, and then you have, what about those siblings? They don't even get along. And then now you want to come up here and tell me what's best for mom and dad. I'm going to tell you what's best. Now we going to argue. And at the end of the day, who not going to get the best treatment? The mom and dad.
The mom and dad.
Yeah.
And let's not talk about the siblings or the relatives that are living with your aging relatives.
Yeah.
And they're not the most responsible, but they're there. But they aren't taking care of mom and dad.
Yeah.
Or aunt or auntie, or your support village loved one.
Yeah.
So as soon as they go in the hospital, you may be the one that they directed to guide their medical care.
Mm-hmm.
But someone living in their home when she's not there, they living in the home. You don't have any paperwork, nothing to put them out. They live there. They're in the house with auntie's mama's assets. And it could be one of them relatives who's on the struggle bus a little bit for a couple of conditions.
Mm-hmm.
And they're selling things out the house.
Lord have mercy.
What can you do? They live there. That's why it's so important that those conversations are needed, and everybody can't live with everybody, especially if they have some illnesses or they're aging. Yeah. It creates a whole nother story. And sometimes they'll be in there and they'll know mama, auntie, cousin, Aunt Nettie is ill. They'll get them to sign paperwork and you won't even know.
Ooh, let me tell you.
And still will not be there at the hospital to take care of anything. These are real life scenarios. This is why I talk about the lived experience, those topics that you are not going to find when you Google or go on a research paper.
Yeah.
And we need to talk about these things. It's so important. And you talked about, Mother's Day, and it's being children.
Yeah.
One of my programs help parents prepare their new young adults for their world without them and beyond, because they're 18 now. They're leaving home. They're going to college. What a nightmare. Something happens to your child and you don't know. We know they go to school, they get to partying, may drink too much. I have witnessed kids being in the emergency room for 18 hours. We didn't know their name because they had a fake ID.
Lord have mercy.
Parents were not called because they were not listed as emergency contacts.
Wow.
Yes. So sometimes kids don't want you to know what's going on. So we can help you to guide through that process to prepare them, or you can list us so that they can call us, because they don't want you to know the details, but yet the parents still paying for the health insurance. That's just how it goes. That's
Lord have mercy. Ain't that something that's kind of like, I can't know what's going on, but you want me to pay this bill.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
Like, nah, I'm a pass on that. Keep that like you're keeping the information. Keep the bill like you keep the information. I'm good on that. I mean, I laugh at this situation, but it's not funny, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not taking it lightly, like, oh, it's a joke, but it's reality. And that whole, they're 18. And then what cracks me up, they'll say, I remember Markel was still seeing his pediatric nurse when he was 18, 19. And, she said, Markel, if you sign, I can still see you as your doctor, even though you're over 18, or you could go see, different. And Markel was like, I'm straight with you. And, and I was like, oh, okay. So, but when he did turn 18, she would say, do you want your mother, to be in here, or because, or step out because, now you're of age. And I'm looking at him like, what you gonna say? Like, and Markel's right. Like, she could stay in here. So, but then she want to do the physical. I'm like, nah, I birthed him, but I don't want to see him as a young grown man. So I'm gonna step outside these doors. If you need me, whatever, I'll come in or whatever. But a lot of times you're right. There, one sad thing, I won't put who it is or the hospital, but there was a teenager that got into a really bad accident, and their mother, thank God, was able to get them to the hospital. However, unfortunately, when mom dropped the son off at the emergency door, they were trying to get him in. And from what I understand, he was like, I don't want to go back without my mother. And they're like, we have to get you back there. We got to get you back there. And I can't share what the situation was, but he was adamant. Like, I don't, he probably was scared. I remember when I had to have emergency surgery to have my appendix removed, I was fully grown with a whole son. And when they said, because I had been battling this pain for 3 days, and finally it had me so bent, I was like, I gotta go to the emergency. I don't know what's going on. I've been popping Motrin, Tylenol, Aleve. This pain got me humped over now. So when I got there, they took x-rays. They was like, and then I think I had to do an MRI, I think. And they're like, oh, you need to have emergency surgery. You know the first thing I said, Karen? I was like, I got to call my mama. I was fully grown. And they was like, we have no time. And I'm like, they was like, because if it burst, you could be in a terrible situation and it could lead to death. And I'm like, shit. So needless to say, I went on and did the do. But with this young man, he was just like, no, I don't want to go back without my mom. And his mom was trying to park. And he ended up passing away because they didn't take him back. And because he wanted to, he passed up front. They never got him back there. And the mother was so upset. This, of course, distraught and everything, but no, he's a kid. I don't care what he wanted. You should have and I'm thinking like in a situation like that, is the hospital liable for like, okay, we need to do what's best for you, we're not listening to you? Do they make that decision?
It is well within his right because he's conscious to refuse care.
Wow.
And that's essentially what he did is he refused care. Although he wanted his mother, he refused to go back without her. And
Wow.
this is one of the conversations that, had there been conversations in the family where they know, take the emergency care, tell them your mother is your contact and her phone number, because all the times he was saying, I want my mother, they could have, listened to him say, what's your mother's name? What's her phone number? Then Wilshire got there and he'll say, we'll send her right back. But kids need to know sometime in an emergency, a delay in care can be fatal. It can be fatal. And certain things they say are a refusal of care. It's not a prison. He could have got up and walked away if he wanted to, but it's more of a liability if they treat him, and it's refusal of care. I'm more concerned about when she dropped him off. Why couldn't the valet take the car? I mean, I don't know where she was, but they probably didn't know that the illness was progressing either. A lot of times we don't know that.
Yeah.
Because had she known that, she probably would have carried him in there on her back.
You understand?
Exactly. And that car would have been waiting right there.
It sure would have.
Because he obviously either walked in or they took him in a wheelchair, but he was talking. But these are those dynamics that we need to understand and be more proactive with. And it is so sad that he passed away. We don't know if he would have passed away anyway, if that was either the reason.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, you hear all these stories. There's so much that's going on in the world. And, when you get to that point where your loved one, you're at that ER, you're at the hospital, whatever that looks like, you're not thinking about forms and all this information. You're like, do what you need to, as you said, do whatever you need to do to save my loved one. And there are some people that I think it's also a benefit for a person to, when they're in their ability to be in their right mind, to say, hey, if I want to put DNR on there, then that's not what that's what I want to do. Because for us as children of our parents, I respected when my father was going through that's not something he wanted. He also not only was battling dementia, he had cancer really bad, and it had taken over, and he was so frail that they're like, even if he had, didn't have the DNR, it was kind of like, we very well surely would have probably cracked his ribs, and he would have been in way more pain. And, even trying to give him a PEC tube, there was like, it's going to be painful. And I'm like, he's already suffering. And I felt, and that's a bad place for a child, grown or not, to be where you have to make that decision. Like, I literally felt like, if I don't tell you to put the PEC tube, am I starving him? If I tell you to put the PEC tube and then something else happens, did I do that? And I honestly told them, I said, I can't make the decision. I have to leave that up to you as an expert. You make the best decision for him, because I don't want that on my conscience. I'm like, I want what's best for him. At the same time, you already have told me what you think his quality of life is, and God has the last final say so. Man is not always right, but I'm like, it was tough. And having that type of situation on your hands, dealing with your emotions or not dealing with it, because sometimes we don't want to tap into our emotions. We become numb. We don't want to deal with it. It's like, okay, it'll just go away. And it's like, no, it's not. This is what we have to deal with. So you think about, like you said, you got a relative, and a lot of times it's unfortunate that this happens. Some relative is living with that elderly relative, and this was true story. This actually hit our family years ago, where we had an older relative who didn't have any children. And, it was a relative that was a relative by marriage that finagled their way into that relative's life and made decisions. And it was like, well, who's it? And they're like, how did this person not even blood, because that relative signed over documents and things and put that person in charge of
Yeah.
making decisions for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's TT. Some stories are absolutely, absolutely horrible. And we don't want to have the conversations because we don't want to be the one for somebody to say, you killed so and so.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
and nobody wants that. And it is amazing how people get real religious when somebody looks like they're going to pass away. And the option, God will take care of it. Okay, but let's not forget the other part. You have faith, God will take care of it. But faith without works is dead.
Yeah,
What's
you
your
better
work?
say it.
What's your work? What's your knowledge? Make a wise decision.
Yeah.
When our mother, she knew, she always said, Lupus is going to take me out of here. She told us what she wanted. You know, she had her documents. She named who she wanted. Now, you can name 2 people on these documents. You don't have to put that sole burden on one person.
Right.
You can create these documents to say you want Jerry and Annie in charge, but before they make the final decision, they need to consult the immediate children and then make a decision. You can write it up how you want to write it. And Mom just had in there, if she ever had to be on life support without significant improvement, she wanted the right to die without it.
And that's her right.
That was her right, and we respected her right. But the caveat is, we had a unique family dynamic. You know, I had 2 moms. Her partner of 33 years was there, was with her, had always been with her.
Yeah.
Now, you got to remember, sometimes you have to know your partner. If you know your partner cannot make that decision, don't list them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So who she had listed on there, you know, we knew who to yield to for final decisions, but we all had a role. I had a role. And so we ended up putting my mother in palliative care. It was a way for her to pass with dignity. She could still be fed, but no life-saving measures. Her body would just naturally decline, and she was in a very nice facility. But not all LGBTQ and blended families will act in that way.
Yeah.
This is where it's so important to have your documents in order, because they were not married. They could not be married at the time.
Yeah.
It was illegal. So in current day, being married, although you can't, it's a choice. It is a choice. But when the 2 partners have children and have 2 families, one of them pass away, the biological children, they can come in and just take over everything, even though may not have seen them in years.
Yeah.
But they're the natural inheritors if you don't have your documents in place. It's so important. It's so important to talk. Even if a person does not like who Mom chose, you say, why did Mom choose so-and-so to be ahead of this or that?
Yeah.
That is not the time to ridicule Mom.
Yeah.
You need to respect the decision. There's a reason why she did that. Talk to her, ask her. You may not agree, but there's a reason why she did that. Yeah. And if anything, you can say, well, can you adjust it to put another person, if that will make sense on there? Because you might know something. It all depends on whether they have their full mental capacity, but it also depends on how they were feeling when they did these documents, whether they were coerced or things like that. But you have to understand, when people are taking their final days, they're going to make a lot of decisions that we don't understand. It's only for them to understand. Sometimes they may not even tell you anything. But you have to be there, and you have to be supportive, and just to make sure all the decisions are informed. And that's where we come in at. I wish I could help everybody in the world, I tell you. Yeah. But just to have a conversation with me I have a free 15-minute conversation in there. It's not enough time for me to resolve a problem, but it is enough time for me to find out what your need is and whether or not would be a good fit. Because at the same time, I have a responsibility and I'm going to do my job.
That's
But
right.
your responsibility is I need you to listen. I need you to be coachable. I need you to be engaging. I need you to talk.
Yeah.
Because if I just tell you and you don't do, that's not going to work either. And I am going to speak so that everything is clear. If it's not clear, we're going to keep on speaking until it's clear.
Uh-huh.
And one of my clients recently, a cancer patient, I've been helping her through her journey, and thank God she's able to ring that bell and be cancer free.
Amen.
Now, I am not saying that I was in charge of the cancer cells, but
Right.
what she did tell me, she said, you gave me a voice.
Hmm.
I taught her how to ask those questions. They thought she was a nurse. They still think she's a nurse. But there were times too where she would call me and say, Karen, the doctor's in the room. Can you just talk to them? So I talked to the physicians and made sure, do you understand what they're saying to you? So
Wow.
it's about decision support. I don't make decisions for you, but I do offer the decision support to help you make the best decision for yourself or your family member. So I'm hoping people will hear this and they can think about some scenarios that they're going through, and that, it'll help have some easement or make things a little better for them. Even understanding their health insurance policies, because you can have a real financial crisis because you went to a hospital and you find out after everybody's recovered that it was not in network.
Ooh, you better let me tell you something on a small scale.
Mm-hmm.
So when I don't know, was this between jobs? I think I was in the midst of getting new insurance. And so I couldn't get into my regular doctor. So I was like, I'll just go to an urgent care. And so, and people, Karen, you hit this on the head. So I just want to remind people, you got to ask these questions. So I asked the young lady, I told her, I said, I have some new insurance. I was like, it's Blue Cross Blue Shield. But I can't remember if it was PPO or HMO. So I said, do you accept it? She says, yes, we accept Blue Cross Blue Shield. I said, but do you accept whatever it was I have? She says, yeah, I believe we do. So I was like, okay. So I'm filling out the forms, and when you ain't feeling well, you just get it done. Like, I don't care what you got to do. Just, I would need something to make me feel better. So I'm filling out the forms. I got that all done, gave it to her. I'm waiting. And my spirit was like, you better make sure, better make sure, girl, that they take this. So I was looking on the wall, and then I heard this older lady. She was in there. She says, now last time when I came here, you guys couldn't find my insurance in the system, and I ended up having to pay out of pocket, and it was a hefty bill. She was like, so I just want to make sure everything was clear. So she says, well, let me look into it. The lady that works the desk is on break, and just wait a few minutes and she'll be back. So when the lady stepped away from the counter, I walked over to her. I said, ma'am, I heard you talking to the young lady. I said, so this urgent care doesn't accept all insurance? She says, there's certain insurances they do. She said, but like it depends if you have an HMO or PPO. I was like, okay. So I called my insurance company, the card, I have the toll-free number on the back of the card. Right. And I said, I'm at the urgent care. And they were like, oh, you're the Beaumont? Yeah, we take it. And I said, okay. She says, which location? So I told her it was one in Telegraph. And she said, give me the address, because let me make sure that's in a network. I said, okay.
Keyword right there.
In the network. Okay. So when I gave it to her, she says, no, but she said, I don't know the area. She said, but it seems to be maybe 2 miles away. There's one that's in our network. I was like, oh, so my insurance won't cover this. She says, no, honey, it's out of network. So she said it might cover a little bit, but when you start running tests and things like that, that can get expensive. She said, so if you are able to go to the one that's in the network, you'd be better off. I said, thank you so much. I went back up to that window. I said, do you have those forms I filled out? She said, yeah. I said, can I see those? Right? I took them off that clipboard and folded them up. She said, I'm sorry, is something wrong? I said, yeah, you guys don't take my insurance. I said, so I called my insurance company and they said that you guys are out of network. So she told me there's one a couple of miles away I'm going to have to go to. She says, oh, well, okay. Well, she said, we still would see you. I said, no, but I don't want to pay. I have good insurance, but I don't want to pay you. No, no, thank you. I said, but I appreciate you guys. So when I walked out, I got in the car. I was like, just that fast, I could have got me a bill and I would have been so mad. But, it's one thing when we accept Blue Cross. Yeah, but there's different types of Blue Cross. There's different, you know what I mean? You got to ask those questions.
Yeah, that's the thing, TT. You ask if they accept the insurance. They will bill anybody's insurance.
Lord have mercy.
So that's not the right question. You want to know if they are an in-network participating provider with your insurance. And you can always go onto the website looking for participating providers. And you will see, because some people have HMOs, but it might be an EPO. And that is a very, very small network.
Now, see, you talking a whole nother language, Karen.
I know. That is why I help people understand what their insurance is. And I'm also, a licensed insurance agent. So I incorporate everything that I have to my clients because I need to give you a full service because I'm going to be asking questions. I'm going to be asking background questions, and when you send your kid off to college, that could have happened to them if they don't understand their insurance. But the thing is, you don't know what you don't know. Do parents really do they really know about their insurance enough to tell these kids? Some of the kids didn't even know their parents' birthdays. Yeah. You can't bill an insurance without the subscriber's birthday.
You know when you want to hear something funny? And parents, I hope y'all listening. Don't do this to y'all kid. My mother did this to me. My mother stayed 35 for about 5 years.
Oh, Lord.
Because I used to be like, how old are you? 35? And then one time, the last time, I said, but you're already 35. She didn't want to tell me how old she was. And I have to say this, it's embarrassing, but it ain't. My dad always looked younger. You know that old saying, and I hope this ain't offensive to anybody, but it is what it is, and it's true. Black don't crack. And so my dad, I never knew my dad was as old as he was until my dad passed away.
Oh, wow.
Because he lied about his age.
You see how common it is, though.
Yeah.
Because even if they didn't have an insurance card, we could look it up if they have certain pieces of information. Mm-hmm. And then it comes down to, well, I really don't want my parents to know. Can I just pay for it out of pocket? Mm-hmm. Oh, my God. You have $1,500 you want to drop right here? And that's not even going to be the full cost of the bill. I don't think your parents would really appreciate that.
Right. Because they're going to get that bill.
They pay a lot. I can't tell you how many kids have said, your parents pay a lot for this insurance. They knew some things were going to happen. They expect for you to use it. But I can't tell them this. I say you have privacy.
Yeah.
They'll get the bill, but we cannot tell them what you were here for. And then some of them go, yeah, but I can't lie to my mama.
Right. You don't know my mama.
I know. Right. So therefore, mama, daddy, let's equip these kids when they leave us, because they're going to get a job. They're going to have to pick benefits. Mm-hmm. They need to understand what they're picking, especially if you're sending a child off to college and they have allergies or conditions, or they may be prone to a mental health condition that may not show itself until they get to college, where all those stressors may make it come out. Mm-hmm. How are they going to know what to do? Are they going to know that they can call a virtual mental health provider, or they can go to a hospital? Student health can't take care of everything.
That's right.
So we need to get them equipped
and educated. I know this is a lot, y'all. I know y'all like, it's too early for the seriousness, y'all. But it's facts and with stuff that we need to talk about, just like we need to talk about life insurance and, end of life. And these are things that I tell people. There's no way you're going to escape that final chapter of life, which comes to an end. There is nothing on this earth that's going to last forever.
It is not,
nothing,
TT.
nothing. And
my
so
program incorporates all of that because I'm a licensed life insurance agent too.
You're like a Jamaican.
I know
you got all you do all. I do. I know you a biller. I know a medical biller. I know you licensed and you do a whole lot.
I like it to be complete. Anything that they're going to need. It's not just your procedures for care. This is about your legacy. Not having your household suffer, where you can go to the emergency room in peace because it's written down. Either your family got you, and if you don't have an immediate family or you have a support village, I got you.
Tell the people before we jump into the fun side of things, and that's going to lighten people up. Tell people how they can contact your organization.
Okay. Now, I do have a unique name, Carekowell, Karekowell. That's my first name, Karen, and my mother's first part of her nickname, which was Coco, so Careco.
Okay.
You can go to my website, which is carekowell.com. There is a contact form on there. Just fill it out, and it'll shoot me an email. Or you can email me at info@carekowell.com. Any of the social media pages, if you have your phone in your hand, especially for my young people, I'm okay with that. Send me a message on there. I'll get it. And then we can talk. Now, my emails that you contact me on, I have a secure portal. I have incorporated HIPAA compliant mechanisms for your privacy, to maintain your privacy. And what HIPAA is, that's the standard of privacy, so that your healthcare is not leaked out or anything. So if you want to communicate by email. So that's how you would contact me. And there's phone numbers, all social media, all on the website.
Awesome. Now, let's talk about something that's going to lighten this. I know some people are like, oh my God, it's heavy. Like some of y'all are drinking coffee, some of y'all drinking tea. Some of y'all might have something else because somewhere in the world, y'all is indulging in a mimosa. That sounds really good to me, but we got to work today. So let's talk about Lansing Social Elite.
Yes. Now let's get the part where we can celebrate us coming through those journeys, right?
Yes. Let's talk about it.
So Lansing Social Elite is a company that my husband and I decided that we would come up with because we like to enjoy ourselves. We love live music, entertainment, and where we are in Lansing, we don't always get that. So we always have to drive away. And we said, you know what? We ought to be able to have entertainment in Lansing that's safe, that's fun, that can be for the grown and sexy crowd, or that can incorporate families and they don't have to drive to Detroit or Grand Rapids or Mount Pleasant to the casino to get it. So we bring it right here in Lansing. And it has been met with such welcome and a need. Our first event, was an all-white affair in July, and it was for, I think, was it 45 and up? We had an awesome time. We had Beth there who brought it. We had Swifty McVeigh there who brought it.
Yes.
We had Evrod Cassimy who brought it.
Yes.
It was such a beautiful, beautiful, fun time. So in May, we're going to celebrate the moms. Whether it's your biological mom, your TT mom, your Mimi mom, your support village mom, everyone is welcome. Everyone, LGBTQ culture, we know we have our own families. You bring that person, even if it's your sister, y'all thinking about being a mom one day. Just come on out and celebrate with us. We're gonna have pre-Mother's Day event. It's May 11th. It's a Thursday evening, and we won't keep you too late. Okay. We're bringing in a gentleman with I call it his just masterpiece of his violin. His name is Dominique Hammonds. He's from Houston. Okay. When I tell you, this brother on that violin and how he plays those tunes to the music, how He's in the crowd. You want to do Cupid Shuffle? He got that on the violin, and he out there in between the crowd with you.
Wow.
It will be a wonderful, wonderful time. We have some ticket levels, whether you want to VIP or general admission, and VIP has been going pretty fast.
Okay.
Our website is Lansing Social Elite, and it's on Facebook. And we actually have the flyer pinned to the top of the page. And so you can either scan the code for tickets. They're on sale at the venue, which is Urban Beat Events.
Okay.
We also have a flyer on there also, or you can just call the number on the flyer and you will get my husband, and he will be happy to talk to you to get you those tickets so we can celebrate with you.
Now, this sounds like this is going to be fun. I know you said it's a Thursday night. Now, let me ask you, because I know I'm looking at the flyer. So it says early bird. When does early bird stop? Have we missed that, or is it still going?
You know what? We've been selling tickets for a few months. Those are gone now.
All right, good I'm glad. I mean, hey, I had to ask because.
Oh yeah, I'm glad you did ask. It's like when we first put that flyer out there, everybody went straight to VIP.
Yeah, because you know what, y'all. Whew. So let's go here, because I happened to be there. I was working with Beth and them at your event and everything. I still tell you, like, I love the outdoor. You guys, I never attended something outdoors it was like something that you would see in a movie. To me, there was like no mosquitoes out there. Sound was good. The weather was perfect. Food and libations was on point. It was just grown and sexy. I felt like I was somewhere else, like on vacation. It was just a whole vibe. It was a really whole vibe. And so your VIP is only $45. What's included with VIP?
VIP is special seating.
Okay.
We have some meals for you to taste.
Nice, nice.
And we have some raffles that we're going to be giving out to VIP too.
Okay.
And my hubby, Mr. Reynolds, he's working on a couple of other things. So.
Okay. Now, this is going down in Lansing, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you. Now, if you live in Detroit, how far do you think that drive is?
Oh, that drive. I just drove it yesterday. It's an hour.
Okay, so that's not bad for a night of elegance, because that's what it's called. Pre-Mother's Day, it's a night of elegance.
That's right.
Now, here's a question. It's a famous question we always ask. What's the dress requirement?
Look good. You can be comfy, cute. We're not expecting people to show up in ball gowns, but you bring your sassy, as sassy as your mama.
Okay. And ladies and gentlemen, this is something that you do not want to miss. If you are within driving distance, this is going to take place. And the address, I'm going to share it with you guys just in case, so you can start putting it in your MapQuest, trying to see Google, like trying to figure out where it's at. It's at 1213 Turner Street in Lansing, Michigan. And of course, for more information, you could call 517-712-9786. This is going down on Thursday, May 11th at 8 p.m. If you look on the website, the flyer is out there. They have a QR code. You can scan that, and that would allow you to go right on and purchase your tickets. There's also a door admission. It's slightly higher, not much than general, just $5 additional at this time. But you don't want to wait till the last minute. You want to go ahead and cop those VIP tickets, because there's nothing like having a night of elegance and being in style. But if you are that person to say, I'm going to pull up, go on and pull up and pay your $30. You know what I mean? At $35, at the door, because now you coming in. And you get in where you fit in. I hope that you don't have to get turned away. I really hope you don't have to get turned away. That's why we're talking about it. So many things that's going on in the month of May. And I'm excited about it. And I'm super excited, Karen, that you guys are doing something like this. You're bringing something, once again, unique. It's not something you can get around the corner, up the street. And you're bringing someone all the way in from Houston. Now, how did that come to be?
Well, I'll tell you, we're always looking. We're searching the internet. We're looking for people and who play instruments or sing. They just do something dynamic. And it's somebody that we would want to see. So
Mm-hmm.
if you have some listeners, they're out there, they're performing, they're unsigned, tag Lansing Social Elite.
Okay.
So we can see what you're doing, because we have many, many ideas that we want to bring to Lansing, and we want to be the first to do them. So we want to know if you're out there, because we collaborate, with different resources. We look for sponsors, but we really want to identify that talent. Sometimes when you go out and you're trying to get yourself on board, and it's just hard sometimes, but
Yeah.
you know that you're great.
Mm-hmm.
We want you to tag Lansing Social Elite so we can see you, and we may holler at you to bring you up here to Lansing too.
Awesome. Now that's a lot, y'all. Now, and you're in for a time. I promise you. If you don't have anything on your calendar and you want to, because I know Mother's Day is going to be so hectic. So just think about how awesome that will be to be able to do something to pre-celebrate and still have a wonderful time. And as Karen said, they won't keep you all night long. Now, you ain't got to leave there, but you got to go somewhere. So when they
No.
close those doors, so what would be the end time? I know it says 8:00 is when the party will get started. What time do you guys see yourself ending?
Well, VIP, the doors are open early, for seating and things.
Okay.
So he's set to take the stage at 8:30, so we should be done about 10.
Oh,
That's
that's
enough
perfect.
time
Oh,
for you
yeah,
to
that's
enjoy
perfect
and,
time.
and go home and tell everybody what a wonderful time you had, dance in the mirror, hug your mama, and be ready to celebrate the whole weekend. We want to get that started for you.
Awesome. Well, I thank you, Dr. Karen Reynolds, for coming on this morning, sharing information about your nonprofit organization, as well as giving us something to look forward to for celebrating the mothers, the women that's out here. And as Karen said, whether you are a biological mother or you could have adopted, you could be just the person that gives love like a mother. You could have a sister. It's not just for moms. If you grab somebody that you love and you know that puts love out into the atmosphere for other people, then we want to tell you to grab her and bless her. And if you can't attend something, why not sow a seed and buy a ticket for somebody that can?
Absolutely. We welcome everyone. LGBT community. If you identify as a mother, female, we want you there. We want to celebrate you. We want to celebrate everyone with their mother, their friend, because that's a hard job.
Yes, it is. And it's a never-ending job. Until you leave this earth, it's a never-ending job.
Absolutely. I thank you so much for having me on, TT.
Well, I appreciate you for carving out time to join us here at the top of the morning show. I'm looking forward to having you back again. I know that we'll be reconnecting again with the nonprofit organizations as we move towards, because that application actually, for those people that are just finding out about it, you definitely want to get your application in if you can. That application closes on May 5th at 11:59 p.m. So you don't want to miss that opportunity. Remember, there is $35 million in funding money out there. You can go to www.minonprofitrelief.org for more information. Dr. Reynolds, thank you so much for stopping by this morning. We look forward to having you on again in the very near future, and I hope to see you soon.
Thank you, and God bless you.
Same to you. Have a great day.